it on. Got to get on it. Choice to go to mandate, get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you. Kim Congdon is here. She's a comedian. She's got dates coming up. Raleigh, North Carolina. Good Nights Comedy Club. That's coming up September 22nd, 23rd. And then it's off the Side Splitters in Tampa, Florida. That'll be December 16th. And we'll give you some more info about where to go. Good to see you, Kim.
Wow, you guys are good.
We're pros.
Really professional. I was like, I have those shows?
Oh, yeah.
You guys did the research for me. Who can I hire on your team? You got any extras?
I'd take two of them.
Thank you for having me.
So Kim, stand-up, started out on the East Coast and made your way out to the West Coast, or?
I actually started out, I was in college at the University of Florida. I got an internship at Fremantle Media in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I was staying with my cousin who was an assistant at CAA. She was watching comedy shows. So I would come out and watch shows with her. And then I dropped out of college that summer and kept doing stand-up.
You wrote for Impractical Jokers for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like quietly the biggest show ever.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
Huge.
Massive. Yeah, I don't.
If you turn on True TV,
people know
there's
that.
a 95% chance that it's going to be in Practical
And
Jokers.
it's not just that. It's like it's Impractical Jokers, and it's afterwards, and then it's the after party, and then it's Inside Jokes. It's like the whole network. That's them.
And going around the country selling out stadiums. I mean, it's crazed.
It's insane.
So then you start making your way into doing stand-up. Mm-hmm. And how long have you been doing stand-up?
I've been doing it for about 10 years now. Mm-hmm. I started on the Kill Tony podcast. Mm-hmm. I was doing a new minute a week on that podcast. I actually just started signing up for the open mic at the Comedy Store. And then I got on Kill Tony the same night. So my first night of stand-up, I did a set in the OR and then went straight over and did Kill Tony.
Original room,
yep. And then I started doing sets ever since then. I did 2 years of that, and then I became friends and family at the store.
Were you always funny? Was it always around?
Yeah, actually I just went back home to my parents and they were like, we found your old yearbooks. And I went to go see what people wrote in them. And a lot of the things were like, you're so funny. You always make me laugh in class. So I don't really remember. I guess I was. But you don't really remember when it's yourself. You don't feel as funny as people think you are.
I'm trying to think. Like, I always knew I was funny, but I always thought, but what shall come of this? Like, how are you going to make a nickel this thing? I mean, for me, it was like, I don't know, having a green thumb or being good with kids or something. Like, it's fine, but what are you going to do with it? How are you going to get paid?
Yeah.
So I was always pretty confident about my ability to be funny, but I had zero confidence in the world.
Yeah. No, I get that. I didn't even realize you could do anything with it for a while. I didn't grow up watching stand-up comedy or anything like that. I didn't have any heroes or anyone I wanted to be. I kind of just showed up at the Comedy Store with my cousin one night and watched a comedian, like a very well-known comedian, do a joke that I had said to her. That's something that happened in the news that day. And I had said it better in a funnier way. And then he got like a standing ovation for it. And I was like, this guy sells out theaters. And then it's like clicked in my head.
You said it to your friend before.
I said it to my cousin that day.
Right, but not the comedian.
Not the comedian. It was the day that the guy got eaten by the sinkhole in his living room.
Oh.
I remember that was what
you remember the joke?
Not really. I think the premise was just like, imagine like sitting in your house and, you went through the whole day and what kind of person this had to be, how horrible this man had to be for God to...
Yeah, I feel the same way about people. If you get hit by lightning once, fine, coincidence, but twice...
Child molester.
Yeah, you've dropped a digit on somebody with no pubes. If you are getting hit twice.
Yes.
Or, if I know God... You're going to do something horrible.
Yes.
Maybe you're going to take out the Statue of Liberty or take a commercial airliner down, and God is trying to get you before. That's the God that I hope exists.
I actually really like that.
The preemptive strike God.
Yeah, if a child dies from childhood cancer, you're like, well, maybe he would have been a serial killer.
It's a good chance.
I don't feel bad.
Now you don't feel bad.
Well, look, they all weren't going to do... charitable deeds.
That's true.
There's got to be a couple wife beaters in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Statistically.
Absolutely. Right now, if you're sitting with your child, look him in the eye. Make sure he's not a wife beater. Look
Yeah.
deep into his eyes. See if you see anything in there.
Yeah, I mean, you probably steer clear of that during the eulogy about what the 9-year-old could have gone on to do that was horrible. He's probably going to be addicted to porn. He's probably going to be one of those guys that tries to rip off the food delivery services by like pretending you're not home and then they set it down. Like a non-tipper. This guy, he could be one of those guys who watches endless marathons of Impractical Jokers instead of spending time with his family. So
It's a better place.
I got and I never liked these in a better place.
Yeah.
I don't like that at the funeral because my feeling is like, we're here.
Yeah.
Why should we live here? And they get to go off to a better place?
Yeah, you know what I don't like when they're like, it's peaceful, they're happy now. I'm like, have you ever seen someone's face when they're dying? It's like, like
Yeah.
it's like it looks like a horror film. It doesn't look peaceful.
Yeah. They always do that. They're finally at rest. They're finally at ease. Although that's always a euphemism for suicide.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So I don't know if you're aware of this. I don't know what you're driving. Looks like a Toyota something.
Honda.
Oh, a Honda something.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I don't know if it's electric or hybrid or whatever it is.
I think it's hybrid.
But I just got myself a all-electric Audi.
Ooh.
And it's a plug-in electric Audi. And it's my first foray into an all-electric vehicle. And I was attempting to charge it at home last night. And I opened up the flap where you put the jack in to charge it. And it was infested with ants. And it's not like I'd had a picnic on the hood of the car. There's no chocolate cake or ambrosia salad. I just pulled in. And I don't have an ant problem at my house.
Right.
I just pulled in, parked, went down 20 minutes later to open the flap, and it was teeming with ants. And not these sort of hobo, hey, let's check it out ant,
Right.
on the move.
The explorers,
a little
yeah.
agitated, running around, full pace, and getting right into the charging jack, like right into the hole.
Oh, those are like cocaine ants.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this isn't take a stroll on the hood ant. They are being attracted. There's something that's drawing to them. They're all over the door jamb, which is weird because I can handle the possibility of an ant on me when I'm standing around outside, like playing a softball game or something. Driving, no tolerance for insects. The idea that and the problem is once you see a whole bunch of ants,
Yeah.
you then feel ants on you for the next 72 hours.
Yeah.
So then you're driving the car going, there's something, I can feel something on my shin.
That's what happens when I get bad dick. For the next few days, I'm like,
You're not right.
He's still there. Yeah, it
Half the time I
haunts you.
give it.
What, we'll circle back to my ant story in a second. First 45 on bad dick. What constitutes bad dick? Give
Ants?
us like 3 no-nos in the bad dick department.
Bad hygiene.
Oh, okay, that's number 1, right?
Yeah. That's the number one. And honestly, and that counts for dick gets bad if the bad hygiene, like if you have bad breath or you don't floss. Mm-hmm. So yeah, hygiene's a big one for me. I guess I don't really know what the other ones are. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
What's protocol? What's protocol? If you guys have been out on the dance floor all night, having cocktails, dancing the night away, and then the guy gets back to the apartment.
There's kind of
Can you tell him to take a shower? Because
It's not
that's
even
basically
about-
saying we're going to fuck.
It's not even about that. It's like someone who like takes care of themselves and keeps their like lives and their clothes and stuff clean. You can almost have a sweaty night and it's fine. But there's a difference between like a dude that is sweaty and clean and just like a musty dude. Like the clothes he put on aren't already fresh. He didn't shower right before he left. It's
Right.
like there's a difference.
It's a way of life.
It's a way of life. You're just gonna be clean a little bit. I mean, some people don't care.
All right.
I do.
So now back to the ants.
Back to the ants.
They're
So-
teaming all over this jack. And I'm like, what are they doing? And I'm starting to surmise it's probably some magnetic, electrical something. Something is attracting them that is beyond food. It's a kind of siren song that is sucking them into this jack. And then why they're all over the jack of this car? They just pulled up into my driveway 20 minutes ago. So I go back out. At a certain point, I'm like, look, I'm not going to get a toothpick and fish any ants out of there. If you're in the jack, you're getting mash, and I just plugged the thing in.
Oh.
And
Sent a message.
And went out the next morning, and there was a few sort of scattered around, but it stuck in my craw. So I said to Chris, there's got to be some phenomenon here. This can't be a coincidence.
Right.
There must be some stories on the internet about ants going nuts with electrical cars.
There's a lot. This is a common thing with people with electrical cars.
Not discussed at the dealership.
You don't. Yeah, I've never heard it either.
At all. Like I would have liked a little heads up about the phenomenon of the car being attacked by ants.
But there's always something.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is. So they love to crawl up into the port along the cable because they are attracted to the electronic magnetic field and the warmth. Like especially, look, we just came off a hurricane. We're all survivors here, and we understand that they want the warmth, they want shelter. So they found their way into your garage and are going to their charging port. And by the way, they're bringing up larvae in there. They're laying eggs. It's basically their car now. So
I'm going to have to set off one of those holiday foggers inside of my brand new Audi to get rid of the ants.
They do this. It's common. They do it with AC units, electrical outlets. They're really
is anyone talking remedies? Like
there are a few.
You're going to short if you take a can of Raid and just spray it into the jack, you're going to short the car out.
Yeah.
But are they saying like sprinkle talcum powder along the hood?
Yeah, chalk. They won't
It should
cross
be like
chalk.
a Raid gel. You could just put on that.
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, that also doubles as a lip gloss.
Yeah.
For the world's meanest blowjob.
For the bad dick.
Yeah, for the bad dick.
So they said Windex might work. Air dusters, just blow them out of there.
You just have to buy this nice car and then blow ants out of the whole jack hole every time you get in.
I agree.
Seems like a chore.
Yeah, as long as you have some compressed air on you, you'll be fine.
There are
So
humane
annoying.
and non-humane ways, but
I'm going non-humane.
Experimenting, sure.
Yeah, so it's a thing. And I was
hell no.
completely unaware of this and never thought about it. But it was on. Like I pulled up and I went in the house and turned around, came back and covered with ants. All right. So other questions.
Are you
now.
going to get your money back? Or are you going to try and I would be calling. I'd be like, you need to send me a couple $100 every month. I need something.
I can get the working guy to ride shotgun now.
Yeah, get the people that found out my schedule to call. They seem like they're on.
They're on top of it.
Yeah.
Are you good with that? Like just calling to complain and get a little something back?
I mean, I would love to. I just don't have the patience. You know, I'm like everyone else where I'm like, I'm going to complain about this. And then 10 minutes later, I'm like, well, it's already over. And
Usually
I went to go complain at my doctor's office the other day. I was fucking pissed because I called my doctor and the lady answered the phone and I was like, hi, I need to make an appointment. I'm a hypochondriac, so I thought I was dying of cervical cancer. So I was like, I need to get checked. And she was like, okay, you can come in today. And I was like, okay. And then she just hung up. She didn't say bye. And the whole ride there, I was like, this bitch, it's already, I don't have great health insurance. I don't know if you guys know, it doesn't come with comedy.
Right.
And so I'm like, people that are already going to are poor and they feel sick and you're going to hang up on them. And I was like, I'm going to say something. I was like, she needs to be better at her job. You're the receptionist at a doctor's office. You should at least be nice. People are sick.
Yeah.
And then I get inside and I was like, hi, thank you so much. And I signed the thing and said nothing. But the whole car ride there, I was like, I'm going to get her ass.
Which is good. I appreciate your candor. Because what I hate is the people that told the story when they tell the story and they go, this bitch was so rude. When I got to the office, man, I just walked right up there and I told her, fuck right off. I mean, I didn't tell her to fuck off, but I told her that she needed to get her shit together. I mean, I didn't say get your shit together, but I was like, well, then what did you do? And then stop giving me the cool version of what you didn't do.
What you wanted to do.
Yeah. And also, it's always funny when people tell their version of the story that kind of makes them cool.
Yeah.
And there's this guy and he was at Arby's. He was waving a knife around. I stood up and I was like, hey, bro, you want some? You found some. It's like, but I didn't really do that. But it's not in this person's DNA.
Yeah.
But they're always they're kind of creating their own movie that they're starring in.
Yeah.
The whole time about what they did.
Yeah.
All right. So other subjects that I want to get into now that ants aren't here. Something has been bothering me. You watch Fast and Furious? You watch that franchise?
I've watched a few of them. They get a little repetitive. I saw the first one, so I feel like I've seen them all.
Oh,
Is
wow.
that? Oh,
You need to leave.
Yeah.
okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb the family in here.
I was watching the beginning of one of my, family. That's the whole point. Vin Diesel's into family.
Right.
Like, he doesn't have friends, he has family. And
Yeah.
his whole life, it's all about this is his family. And he has crazy, crazy love for his girlfriend, Letty.
Is
right?
that Michelle Rodriguez?
That's Michelle Rodriguez.
A lot of people say I remind them of her.
See, that was good. You know more than you think about the
I
franchise.
told you, I saw a few. Until
So-
the hot dude died, and then I was out.
Oh, Walker.
Yeah, I was like, what's the point of watching anymore?
Yeah, he was probably some good, clean dick, too.
Clean.
Clean.
You know he's
Look at
clean,
that
yeah.
guy.
And he liked Hispanic chicks.
Oh, he did? Mm-hmm. Are you a Hispanic chick?
I am. I'm Puerto Rican.
Oh, you had a shot, man.
Yeah.
So he's driving, and one of my favorite is Fast Five, where they're going along this mountain road in like Colombia or Brazil or something, some Argentina maybe. And he's driving in his Dodge Challenger, and Vin Diesel's pulling up behind the truck, and it's like a tanker truck. It's a tanker truck that's 4 or 5 tankers long.
Okay.
That's illegal in the United
an
States,
ultra
but
tanker.
in Argentina you can do it. But it's the world's most unwieldy tanker truck, and it's on a mountain road. And he's talking about how much he loves Letty and how much Letty loves him. And then at some point, he just looks at her and goes, "It's go time." And she crawls out of the window because the door's welded shut, climbs onto the hood of the Dodge that's going 65 miles an hour, and then jumps to the back of the tanker truck and hangs on, and then tries to fish her way on the top of the tanker truck to get to the first one, to get to the coupler, to break it loose. And I was
I don't
thinking to
see the
myself,
issue, yeah.
you really love this person? Because this seems insanely dangerous.
Let it go,
And
yeah.
I've never met a woman where I go like, hey, you know how much I love you, right? Climb out onto the hood of this speeding car and jump on a thing. By the way,
But what are you going to do?
why can't she drive the fucking car? Shouldn't Vin be crawling out on the hood?
Yeah.
And so that's the
That's what I
car's got
would've
a
said.
roll cage in it. You know what I mean? Like the car's the safest place you're going to be.
The move of switching drivers, like from passenger to driver, that's been done 1,000 times. They can easily do that.
Or just get in the car with the understanding that this time, Vin,
Yeah.
because you love me so much, I will be driving this vehicle, which I have a rich history of driving. No one's complained about
good.
my ability to
Yeah.
pilot this vehicle. And I can go down a mountain road at 62 miles an hour and stay within 4 feet of a tanker truck. And then you take your bald ass, crawl out of the window, walk across the hood on a mountain road, and leap onto the back of this.
You know, he would
do
have been
it.
like, babe, you're more aerodynamic.
You're so
That's
good
right.
at it. You know, you're just so good at that.
Oh, we have the scene.
Women crawl better.
They do. But I'm just saying, this is not love.
No,
this
it's-
is somebody trying to collect on an insurance policy. If I was deeply in love with a woman, I wouldn't have her do something that was nearly as risky.
This is
Is
the
this.
car racing version of taking your wife on a cruise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone's going overboard?
Yeah, this is it.
All right, we're good to go. Got this.
Bet your ass, Papa.
Oh, it's pretty.
They love
Make
each
some
other.
money!
I kind of think they're hot together.
They are hot, but she's standing on the hood of them.
Everyone in
Look, he's
car.
getting off to it. That's a thing. He likes it.
I thought we'd be robbing banks by now. Not some gas truck in the middle of nowhere.
Down here, gas is gold, Papa.
Oh, God.
So I'm guessing you haven't seen this
It's not a movie, it's a film. Yeah.
the chatter. Game time.
I wouldn't piss him off, guys.
All right.
Now, if she misses the leap, you run over
You're
the
right,
woman
yeah.
you love, right?
Yeah, she's under your tires, dude.
Under the transmission. All right. Couple things. The phoniest thing, and I now think about
The papa twice.
Fast and Furious, the whole franchise. It's not the driving down a dam while the water's like chasing you or sending a Pontiac Fiero to outer space. The fakest thing about this whole series is how consistently well the walkie-talkies work.
In
Because
the
every
wind.
time I have a walkie-talkie, the person's like, I can't hear. What channel are you on? Like, there's no... They'll never be able to pull this off.
I
Always
think
on, yeah.
The
Yeah.
fakest thing is pretending Michelle Rodriguez likes men. I'm like, she actively hated that kiss. Did you see
Oh,
that?
yeah.
She looked
Yeah.
like she was kissing old fruit.
But she,
Like-
she may have found a soulmate in Vin Diesel. I maybe that's why they
Yeah.
had the pairing. All right. The other thing that struck me was I went and did Orny Adams' podcast last week, and I had to take Forest Lawn Drive, which I don't take all the time. But once in a while, Waze tells you want to go to Orny's house, you got to get off on Forest Lawn Drive.
You used to take it every day.
What is that?
Forest Lawn Drive is the long stretch of highway that runs along the cemetery next to the 101.
And like Warner
Freeway and the Warner Brothers and all that stuff.
Okay.
And I've always complained that on one side of Forest Lawn, there was a whole bunch of illegal Mexicans selling flowers out of a bucket. And then on the other side was the cop with the radar gun giving out the tickets to the soccer moms who are speeding. And I was like, you can't run a society that way. You cannot ignore illegal activity on one side of the street and then try to take down taxpayers on the other side of the street. Oh, this is me taking a picture of someone that got pulled over on Forest Lawn from a million years ago. So I've always used Forest Lawn Drive as a metaphor for why Los Angeles was turning into a piece of shit. And as I was driving on my way to Orny's house, I realized the first half, at least coming from the direction I was coming from, was all illegals selling flowers and trash everywhere and all that. No permits, no business license, no taxes, no nothing. And soon as you got through with them, it was all RVs and crazy fentanyl addicts living in these RVs. And I was amazed there wasn't 6 RVs. There was 35 RVs just taking up the entire right and left side of the road. Chris found a story that NBC News, ABC did on it
2 months ago.
2 months ago.
In the shadows of Mount Hollywood, next to studio lots and the LA River, sits one of the city's fastest growing neighborhoods. Zoned for open space and commercial use these days, Forest Lawn Drive is almost entirely residential.
When I became homeless is during all the rain, so it was really, really rough.
Lorna and her dogs live in a parked RV on Forest Lawn. She moved here after what she described was the worst week of her life, sleeping on the streets during a winter storm after spiraling into homelessness. Her RV is one of 70 along this 2-mile-long corridor, 70 of an estimated 4,000 citywide.
4,000 citywide. Now, look, if you keep going down Forest Lawn Drive, just past the RVs and cross Barham, you'll be in Toluca Lake. That's where Denzel Washington lives in his $13 million house. Like, that is amongst the most expensive real estate in California, maybe the United States. There's literally a golf country club directly across the street. And as Dr. Drew pointed out, there's a tennis club as well, but you can't see it anymore because it's like RVs are parked all in front of it and you can't see the tennis courts anymore. And then Drew was saying, he had a friend who got married back in the day at the tennis club, but you couldn't get married at that tennis club anymore because where would people park? Like, where would your guests park dressed in gowns and heels and tuxedos and stuff, like walking through Damnation Alley to get to your wedding? We fucking completely lost it in this city. We have 100% lost it. That's not the Barrio. That's not Skid Row. That's not San Fernando. That's Forest Lawn Drive. That's the most expensive real estate in the world.
Yeah.
That's why they want to live there. I mean,
I know.
It's a nice neighborhood.
And
Forest Lawn is an electric car and the homeless people are the ants.
That's the metaphor. And what about poor Nana who's buried up in the cemetery? She's got to look down at these fucking homeless people living out of a van the entire time?
It's also, I feel like it goes past all of LA too. It's like a lot of people in other states are shipping homeless people to Los Angeles. So
yes.
It's like kind of everyone's fault that this is happening.
And also these RVs, what the story actually covers is that they're being rented out to these homeless people. They're called van lords.
Right.
And they just, they have old RVs. They just park on Forest Lawn and say, you can live here for $100 a month.
I would for that not to be happening, but then a little part of me, the piece of shit part of me, and I'm like, we want illegals to go through like documentation and do everything the right way and pay taxes and be like us. I'm like, we should be more like them. Let's all stop paying taxes.
I agree.
Let's all start stealing. Let's all get on board.
I agree. If it's going to be Sodom and Gomorrah, then I'm not paying any more taxes. Like if it's on, it's on.
In front of me in Starbucks, he took his meal and he left, and I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to do that. Starbucks, the money that you owe me for how much I've paid for your fucking coffee.
I'm going to, so I'm with you. And this is what I always say. Either you have to enforce the laws for the folks that are breaking the laws, or you have to leave the taxpayers alone and stop being up their ass.
Let me do a little funky on my taxes if you're going to let all this slide. Let me play around with my numbers.
Justified crime.
I would go your route. Like I would get Mel Gibson's car from Thunderdome or whatever that movie was. Mm-hmm. What's that? Road
Mad
Warrior.
Max Road Warrior.
I would get the Road Warrior car. I'd get like a dingo or a hyena to like ride shotgun. I'd get like a sawed off shotgun, and I'd just go full rogue. Yeah. Like it's now every man for themselves. There's no more paying taxes. There's nothing. We're just going for it.
Well, during the pandemic, it got really bad. I know you guys remember how bad it was with like the homelessness. It seems to have gotten a little bit better, but there was one point where I would go to my friend's house, and he had a 4-way stop sign there. And I was going with my sister, and I just drove through it. And she's like, "Why did you drive through the stop sign?" And I was like, "Look around."
Right.
There are no rules on this street. If I get pulled over for not stopping at this stop sign, it would be a huge issue for me.
Well, that's another...
Because there's a man welding a 2-story building next door to me, like on the sidewalk. Guy. Yes.
That's an interesting point that I'd like to get into, which is, first off, how would you even get pulled over on Forest Lawn Drive anymore? There's no place to pull over. It's all RVs.
So
it's
you don't
all
have to go
Winnebagos.
speed limit.
So that's what I'm saying. Just go ahead and speed because there is no you could not pull over, number one. But I'm also seeing less moving violation tickets being handed out. And I don't think it's an official policy. I think it's the cops' silent protest, which is, I'm not going to write this taxpayer a ticket while this guy is cooking fentanyl 5 feet away from us in an RV.
Right.
So it is the time to speed, everybody. I noticed
right
it.
now.
I started looking around. I'm like, there's just less people pulled over by the side of the freeway. There's just less bullshit, chicken shit. I've lived here my whole life. This is the chicken shit ticket capital of the world. Much less in the chicken shit department.
If I'm at a red light in LA in the middle of the night and there's no cars, I just go.
Good.
I'm like, I have to worry about being...
I may go wash my balls. You keep talking this way.
I'm like, there are no rules in this city. Fuck it. We had a billboard on Melrose Avenue, a giant black billboard on one of the busiest streets in LA that said, "Fuck the police." There's like no rules here anymore. Everything is... that's what I was worried about for the hurricane was like, okay, well, it's going to be like, do you remember when the riots were happening? And people were on bicycles and fucking masks with baseball bats. It looked like the Purge.
But to what end? Like, at some point, doesn't somebody from the city just go... We cannot have a wagon train of beat up RVs strewn times 4,000 all over the city. Like we've got to, some intervention, something needs to be done. Like somebody's got to make a move. Someone's got to go down to Forest Lawn, put tags on everyone's thing and go, you got 72 hours to clear the fuck out of here because we're showing up with bulldozers.
Do you remember when you'd be like at work at like a day job and you would know all the details of what you needed to do to make the day run smoothly. And then this manager would come in that was never there and they'd be like, do it this way. And it would just slow everything down. I think that's what's happening.
With the homeless population.
I think the people at the bottom know what needs to be fixed. And then there's just people that are on tropical islands for months at a time that own this stuff that don't really give a fuck. They don't have to deal with it. They don't have to live around here. They're disconnected. They don't see it.
Wouldn't it be off-putting if you were like the mayor or the city council or something just to drive around and pass all these RVs just strewn about everywhere? Like there's no part of you like in the back of your head that goes, we got to make a move. This is insane. I was thinking
like, what if your out-of-town family wants to visit the city that you're mayor of and you want to show them around?
Insane.
There's no shame.
All right, we'll take a break. I got some vaccinations and I have some thoughts. and I'll do that right after this. AG1. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens daily. I gave AG1 a try. Good for gut health, good for energy, immune support. It actually tastes great as well. And I take AG1 when? Well, I do it in the mornings before I leave the house, and you can feel the benefits immediately. It's easy to fit in your lifestyle. It's the healthiest thing you can do in under a minute. Just 1 scoop of powder mixed with water once daily. Every scoop is packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, and high-quality whole food sourced ingredients. My AG1 is delivered every month right to my door, so it's super easy to make it part of your daily habit. And I also get the single-serving travel packs because I'm on the road all the time. So try it. I know you'll love it. It's AG1, right, Dawson?
If you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/ACS. That's athleticgreens.com/ACS. Check it out.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes we get to a crossroads in life, career, relationships, etc. Yeah, I feel like I hit a crossroads like every 20 minutes, and you need to make good decisions, and for that, you need to kind of clear up your head. Therapy can help you map out your future and trust yourself to find the path forward. I've always been a huge proponent of therapy. I've been in it myself quite a bit over my life, and I wish I had this around when I was a little bit younger. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, it's convenient, and it is flexible. You just fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Get the head right, and the rest will follow with BetterHelp. Right, Dawson?
Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Carolla today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Carolla.
I read a headline today that said, Guy smokes weed, then sucks horse's dick. Thank you so much. Which I don't know if you agree with me. I thought he was probably going to suck the horse's dick regardless. I've never been so high, I just wanted to blow an animal. I've never been so high. Like, I don't even like regular dick that much to just be like, you know, wanted as much as somebody wanted a horse cock. That's fucking weird. I have a friend who's really slutty and at the same time a really picky eater. Which is like, bitch, you've had 11 dicks in your mouth this month, but you won't eat cilantro.
Kim Congdon is on the Adam Carolla Show.
That's funny. I know you didn't want to hear it.
Kim loves that clip.
I can't. I don't listen to my own stand-up.
Well, you know, it's a fine line because there's part of you that doesn't want to listen, and that's healthy, and you just cringe when you hear it. On the other hand, it's informative sometimes. It can act like an air check, like in radio when they'd sit down and play one of your shifts in the program director's office. And so you can glean some good qualities out of it.
For sure.
Yeah, you're too hard on yourself.
No, yeah. I was like, I heard those. I was like, oh, I forgot about those jokes.
All right, so I got some vaxes yesterday, and I feel not myself today. I got a tetanus vaccination, and I got a shingles vaccination.
Okay.
Now, I don't know why, but the doctor just said, you should get these. And then
had you never gotten those before?
Maybe I got a tetanus shot, like 1977 or something. It's been a while.
It's already out. You
since
peed it
tetanus.
out.
Yeah, I definitely peed or sweated it out. And shingles. I'm not up. I'm not up with all the vax, but I got the vaccinations, and then the doctor said your arm's going to be sore, and I said no, it's not. He said, yeah, your arm's going to be sore from the tetanus shot or the shingle shot. And I said, nah, I'm fine. I'm not going to deal with that. But I woke up today feeling off. Like, I think this is as close as I can come to being on my period. Like a little bit just off, a little unsteady, little cobwebs in the head, kind of, you know that move where you bring...
Dumb like a woman. No.
No. Dumb
Just
like
a little
woman.
stupid, a little weaker, a little less funny.
No, only 26% of your life. Not all the time.
Yeah.
No, that move where you go to the water machine and you're holding your coffee mug and you're putting water in your coffee mug and you're like, oh yeah, coffee pot's over there.
Just
like
off.
Just a little off, a little achy, a little weird. And I talked to Drew about it, and he's like, oh yeah, that's a thing. And he does what he always does. It's going to be worse tomorrow, which I fucking hate when he does that, but he always does that, but it's never worse tomorrow. But he said it will fuck you up a little bit. And I'm not fucked up. I'm fine. Been working all day. Went and got my aunt soaked Audi and pulled the plug and drove it in. And I'm fine, but I'm off. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel it. Yeah. And I don't know if anyone's had that vax experience, but Drew said that's the experience. Little sore, like a little achy.
So your arm is sore.
No, my arm's not sore, but like my calf cramped up when I was getting up. Like it's something.
I think there's something chemically that happens to you.
Yeah, there's something circulating.
I don't like any of it.
You don't?
I don't like any of it.
Did you get the vax?
Unfortunately, yes.
Why do you say unfortunately?
I just didn't want it. I didn't feel like I needed it. I was dating a guy at the time who worked in a hospital, and it was like a huge problem.
Dr. Dirty Dick?
Yeah, Dr. Dirty. I was dating Dr. Dirty Dick, and he kind of pressured me into getting it.
That guy.
Yeah, he vax raped me.
No, I agree. Like what? Here's a real good question. There's like 3 groups, and I've never really broke it down this way, but there's the group that were enthusiastic about being vaccinated. And those are the folks that went out to Dodger Stadium and sat in their car for an hour and 45 minutes so they could get vaxxed, like day one. Those are the enthusiastic people.
Yes.
Then there were I'm never going to get vaxxed. I don't care if you fire me from my UPS job or the New York Knicks or whatever it is. I'm just not doing it. But I would argue that the overwhelming majority of people that got vaxxed just got sort of shamed into it by somebody.
You were like a leper if you didn't get vaxxed.
And they'd go, I'll make the appointment. I'll drive you there. Like at some point, you're like, I just want you to shut up.
Yes.
I'll do this thing. I would bet you that's 50% of the people that got vaxxed are the people that just didn't want to deal with this shit.
I think those are the most normal people.
Yes.
They're just like, just leave me alone. Okay, I would literally rather, I'll take the heart condition if you leave me alone, I guess. But yeah, I didn't feel great about it. I didn't get any of the boosters. I won't get any of the boosters. I didn't feel like I needed it.
You don't?
I felt like it was weird how quickly it came about, and COVID was so new, and then they had these vaccines so quickly. The whole thing was strange. The pandemic was really fucked up. It was really the most fun time of my life, but very fucked up.
Was it the funnest time of your life?
I had a great time.
What was good about it?
I really liked being able to not work and not feel guilty. And I felt like there was something really magical about that. I spent a lot of time in nature. I went straight to Florida. So as soon as the pandemic hit, I stayed where it was open and I could just be outside without people. So I went to the beach every day, quiet beaches, no one around. Went camping, went fishing. It was just in the middle of the ocean. It was the best. I got a boyfriend.
Big old vacation for him.
Yeah. I almost got engaged, and then comedy started back up a few weeks later, and I was like, you know what? I have this thing I gotta go do.
So you broke off the engagement?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, does he know it's broken off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We were gonna move in together and stuff, and then everything opened up, and I was like, oh. I forgot. I saw people doing stand-up again, and I was like, oh, my dream.
Yeah, I with every one of these situations, some people spiral, and some people use it for something.
I loved it. I baked, got into archery, clay, painting, Uno.
Really?
Spades, poker. I started doing a bunch of stuff that I really enjoyed.
That's good. That's a healthy impulse. Yeah, I was unfortunately in California, and I couldn't go to Florida, and I was doing whatever it is I wanted to do, but I hated living amongst the Moranos who were trying to force me into something or wagging their finger at me constantly. Like, it was a weird scene to be surrounded by hypochondriac pussy sheep who were constantly trying to coach me up on what the science was and all that. So it didn't affect my schedule that much. I was just doing what I was doing. Well, I wouldn't wear a mask anywhere, wouldn't wash my hands, wouldn't do any of the protocols. I deemed everything a waste of time, and I've seen enough of this and been lied to enough times by these idiots. So I was just immediately, fuck all this. But being, again, surrounded by people that were constantly, coming at me. And this is an interesting subject, and I'll see what you think on it. I was talking to Ami Horowitz, and he comes in the show every once in a while. Interesting guy. I don't know why. He called me yesterday, and he was complaining about something, and he goes, I hate the most? I hate pussies. And I said, I fucking hate pussies. I hate pussies. And then I said, in the past, I've always hated dudes who were pussies.
Same.
But I felt a little bit sorry for them because they were pussies. But during COVID, pussies became weaponized. And now pussies were in control. And pussies were like calling the shots. And I went from the sort of inert pussy, like, I feel sorry for that fucking guy who's a pussy, but he doesn't affect my life, to pussies are now making protocols and telling you what to do. And that's like, oh, fuck, now my life is being, the meek have inherited the earth.
It's like when I play Call of Duty, and it's like when I get on there and the men in the squads are like, go left, zone 6, quadrant 42. And I'm like, you're not in real war. I don't know. You got this opportunity to say something real quick, and now you're like, it is just like that. They took advantage of their power for a second. But the crazy thing about the pandemic is like I said, I was a hypochondriac. So at first I was like, we got to be safe. I was bleaching my groceries. I was wearing the mask. I was like, I believed it right away because I'm just so scared of getting sick and dying. So I was like, I'm going to believe it just in case they're right. And then there was one point I was in LA and everything was closed. And I was like, why the fuck are the Starbucks open?
Right.
Why is my favorite coffee shop that's owned by a little family closed? And why is every fucking Starbucks open? And they never closed. Yes, Starbucks never closed.
And why is Costco open and Kmart open, but all the mom and pop places closed?
Even that kind of stuff, I was like, okay, that makes sense because people need to get things from Costco and like maybe it's essential. But the coffee shops were what did it for me. I was like, you can't fake like it is just so dumb that they would keep them open. It made it so obvious for me what was going on. I was like, you can't leave the Starbucks open. It's not essential. Coffee's not essential.
But it's good that you have that ability to sort of recognize, like so I'm not a hypochondriac, and so I started off with this thing. I don't know if a 10 would have been the most worried and 1 would have been who gives a fuck. I'd say 2.5 was the highest I ever got. Even 10 minutes in, I never got above 5 on the worry scale or at all. I don't know, Chris, did you see any evidence of me?
No, because I remember we would talk about the impending coronavirus that's coming in, and you the whole time you thought it was nothing. You actually didn't even want me to cover it that much because you didn't care about it that much, and then we started focusing more on the panic versus the actual issue.
I knew about it, I was so paranoid. I knew about it so early. I knew about it, I think, right around the time Kobe Bryant died, which was like 3 months before it was on the news. And I was telling people at work, at Impractical Jokers, I'm like, there's this disease. I don't know anything about it, but like they're saying that it's going to hit us.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, you're insane. And then months later, I remember one of my coworkers being like, do you remember that disease you were talking about? And I was like, yes.
But how were you able to shift gears or shift directions? Because most people just kept doubling down on their semi-retardedness. And you start off as a hypochondriac and then got a peek behind the curtain pretty early and change directions, that has been the biggest problem.
Yeah,
no one's been able to do this.
Self-awareness and context clues. It gets you through life. I promise you. Look around and be self-aware.
Context clues.
Context clues and self-awareness. It's a powerful combination.
Explain what a context clue is.
I mean, seeing everything closed except for Starbucks. That gave me a big context clue of the context of what's going on in the situation.
Were you disappointed at the general comedy community at large for not saying a word and being fucking pussies?
I'm constantly disappointed in the comedy community. The fact that we're still getting paid the way we are, we don't have a union, we're disrespected constantly by clubs.
Oh,
and
you're saying unionize stand-up?
I think so.
How would that work?
I don't know. I don't know the details. But I do know that it's crazy that the amount of money the clubs make and like the fact that the stand-up part is the talent, like why people are coming, and we make the least amount in every situation. We make less than the clubs. We make less even when you're doing like stuff like this. I don't know your business, but you're putting in so much money. You're not making money at first at all. It's just you're so poor for so long. And I know that's a lot of things, but it's hard to look at a sold out room and be like, I don't know if I'm going to pay rent next month. And the club's just floating $10 drinks. And,
aren't you cutting those deals before you get to the club?
Yes.
We go, I need X amount % of the door.
Yeah, sort of. But like a lot of the times, even now, like I'll get offered things that are on TV, and the thing is, they're like, I'll pay you this much, and I'll say, this is a crazy rate. Like I need triple, quadruple this. Like it's insane that it would even be offered. And they're like, okay, well, we'll give it to someone else. And it's like, okay, well, I'd rather be on that episode of TV than not have it and have that low amount of money. And that's how they get comedians. Because there's no union. They can just kind of bully you, or then you don't have to take it, which is fine. But then you're missing out on a bunch of stuff. Then you see your peers on that thing. Then they get a second season. It's like sort of like everything is opportunity for so very long. It's too long.
Wait, what's too long?
Nobody else works fucking over 10 years in a place before they start making anything. They get paid in the beginning at least a living wage.
Well, the thing about comedy, thing about show business, thing about music, thing about art, any form of art, it's just a low percentage job. You know, you want to work at McDonald's, you can work. Anyone can work at McDonald's. There's no reason
major clubs should be giving people $20, $10 a show at all, and that's happening.
You're talking about for the sort of drop-in stuff.
Yes,
yeah.
And that's happening. That shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, well,
it's pretty egregious.
That happens in L.A. and like New York, right? But it wouldn't happen in Menominee, Wisconsin, or
right?
something,
But why is
right?
it happening in L.A. and New York when L.A. and New York have the most traffic for that kind of stuff? They're making the most money. So why are we getting paid the least?
Oh,
in
so
the
you're
place where
talking
we're paying
about
the
going to
highest
the
rent?
Comedy Store sold out on a Thursday night and not really getting paid.
The Comedy Store pays pretty well.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, if you're in the main room and it's a sold out show, you're getting paid pretty well for the night. I just got passed, so I haven't gotten a lot of those. I just got passed a couple months ago.
Congrats.
But I did work for 10 years for free, and probably the next 10 years of paychecks will make up for all the money I've paid.
I think
trying to
I think
get
I'm
to
not.
where I
I'm
am.
not defending the practice, but I think the conceit is you can work out locally and not really get paid, and then go on the road and get
But
paid.
they're selling tickets to those shows.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
but are some
and
of
the,
these
and the people that they're watching you. So why not get paid out for that? Why it's like, and it's also another one of the things they're like, we'll book someone else. It's the same thing as getting on TV.
Is it? But are these shows? Are some of the ones being put on by people like other comedians and stuff like that?
Sometimes, yeah, those pay the most. Usually the comedians pay each other the most, and then the clubs pay you nothing.
Right. So if you're just going to
So you're just taking from someone else that need it or earned it also. So if you're getting paid, it's from someone else and not the people that should actually be paying out.
right. So you're talking about local going in, sold out, getting paid $25.
If you're having a show and it's sold out, I feel like comedians should be making less than $50 a show.
Is that
crazy.
the rate?
I think. I mean, I've been to a club where they've handed me a $10 bill, and I've been like, okay, I'll go shove this up my fucking asshole.
Maybe they just wanted a blowjob. A really dirty dick in it.
It's just, I think it's. I understand that you need to pay your dues and stuff, but I think that like when the price starts rising for everything, and then you don't start paying even a little bit more, I don't think $50 a show is a crazy amount to ask.
Well, it makes sense. I thought you were talking about going on the road and selling out a club.
No, that you do. You make your own money and you set your own money. But I think that clubs should be paying more.
Yeah.
I'm not saying any specific clubs, but
No.
Well, what it is, there's always that relationship, which is, you go, this club should pay more, and then the club goes, you should be paying us to perform at our legendary club. And I think that's kind of that's a conceit. Like I used to be on MTV. That's kind of how they felt. Like, hey, this is MTV. We don't pay.
We'll get someone else.
You get to be on MTV.
Does the club think? Because like the club thinks, no, this is our audience. It's not your audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the difference is when you can bring in 500 of your own people. But then
Yes.
it's also like sometimes, I'm 10 years in. I feel like a lot of things don't even start happening. I just stopped working a day job a few years ago. So sometimes I think I'm like, damn, if the club could just give me like $500 extra, I could actually promote the shows and sell them out. Mm-hmm. And market.
Like on
and they also
Facebook or
have
something?
marketing budgets at these clubs and they don't use them. They have these marketing budgets and they fucking pocket them. So they don't push for the comedians. You don't sell tickets, then they take your money and they go home.
I've never thought about it.
It's a giant scam. Everything's a scam. Nothing's real. It's
all a scam.
We're all gonna die.
I feel good.
It's hard to argue with we're all going to die. Because that's accurate. More people mostly focus on when.
Yeah.
That's a bigger issue. But, I never really thought about it. I always just felt like if you do it here, you do it. I always thought of comedy as something you have to do for free for a long time because if it works out, then you can get a real good payday. And most things that involve real good paydays involve a lot of volunteer work, like early on.
Yeah.
But I never really thought about it.
I agree. I don't think that new comics should be making a lot of money. I just feel like they should be making maybe just like enough to keep them out of like simple psychosis. Just like a fucking breadcrumb every once in a while. It's like sometimes the way you get treated as a comedian can be really discouraging. To just you as a person, you're like trying to make people happy and you just feel like shit all the time and you're broke. It's like kind of but it does make you funnier. So there's that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with having bad parents.
Who's treating you like shit?
No one anymore.
Oh, okay. Oh, at the beginning.
Yeah, it's just like
beginning.
It's a rough process.
The meanest guys at any comedy club are the guys who run the open mics.
Yes.
Like I remember way back in the day, like showing up to the Improv on a Sunday night at like 5:00, signing up for the open mic, and they'd put your name in a hat, and because there's too many people, and they'd pick out like 14 people. Mm-hmm. And this guy's pep talk to us was like, "You get 3 minutes. We're gonna hit you with the light at 2.5. You go 3 minutes and 10 seconds. I'll throw a fucking trash can at your head." And this is the part he editorialized. He's like, "And tell jokes. The people don't want to hear your stories." It's like, I don't know. How do you know what kind of comedian I am? It's like, have a joke, have a point of view, tell your jokes, and get the fuck off of the stage. And if I'll throw that flashlight at you if you ignore it for more than 40 seconds. I was like, the meanest guy in this club is running this event filled with scared people who are not getting paid.
Yeah.
But then it was always explained to me that guy's a frustrated comedian, and that's why he's running the open mic, and that's why he's so angry.
Yeah, because he's hungry.
Yeah.
He hasn't eaten in 4 days, and he has to listen to horrible open mic jokes. But now there's like a whole open mic circuit. They're all charging each other. It's gotten fucking... And because they're not making money, now they're opening open mics, and now... Open mics used to be free when I was doing them. And
they're charging for open mics?
Dude, you got to pay $5 a mic now. So you're paying rent's worth just to get around the LA circuit. Because
open mics still are free at the Comedy Chateau in North Hollywood. They have 5 of them a week. They will never charge for an open mic. But to your point, Ace, I auditioned at one of the local clubs around here. I had 2 minutes. I had a nice 2-minute bit. I went up there. Right after I went up, the guy comes to me and he says, "Anybody could have wrote that. Anybody could have told that joke." I'm like, yeah, but I told it. Yeah, but anybody could have told it. Yeah, but I wrote it. Yeah, but anybody could have done it.
I don't appreciate the commentary.
Yeah.
The notes. But now they're charging for open mic.
They are.
Well, now I'm angry. We need to unionize.
Yeah.
This is bullshit. Yeah. I'll tell you what, you just got made over at the store?
Yeah.
Why don't you get a picket sign and head out front? See how that works.
I will, but I'm tired.
Okay.
I want to play Warzone when I get home.
Tomorrow, and I'll have TMZ film me bringing you a pizza.
Yeah, that's like the comedian chant for unionizing. It's like, we'll do it tomorrow.
All right. What you can do for dates is you can go to Kim, and I'll spell it out for you, CONGDON.com, and find out when she's getting paid all around the country. Yes?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming down, Kim.
Of course.
Was fun. Talk to Peter Antico, and we'll do that right after this. Just Thrive. Oh, so much stress. You want to hit the pause button on life and just breathe. Just Calm from Just Thrive. Well, they can help. I take this supplement every day. Just Calm's all-natural blend of mood-lifting psychobiotics and brain-nourishing B vitamins helps you take back control and feel like your most cool and collected self. Multiple studies prove it works quickly to soothe everyday stress and sharpen your focus in as little as 4 weeks. And like I said, I just finished my last bottle and I'm getting started on my next one. I take it every day. Or try Just Thrive Probiotic. That's what I take every day, a spore-based probiotic that banishes gas and bloat so your gut can produce more serotonin, which is your happy hormone. Plus, it supports better sleep as well. I know the owners. We've had Tina on the show. I went to dinner with her husband, and they are the real deal. So take care of yourself with Just Thrive. Right, Dawson?
With Just Calm and Just Thrive Probiotic, you'll have the ultimate stress-fighting duo to help you feel cool, collected, and in control. Get 20% off your first 90-day bottle of Just Calm and Just Thrive Probiotic today. Visit justthrivehealth.com and use promo code Adam.
Well, when we talk about Lear Capital, I'm trying to help you understand what portfolio protection can look like. I'm sitting here holding some coins that were sent to me by our new partner, Lear Capital. The world is not what it used to be, and our government is so focused on Ukraine, Russia, and China, and 100 other things. Who's looking out for you? Here's a little hard news. Russia and China are discussing a trade group potentially backed by gold. They're trying to ditch the dollar and partner with trade partners like India and Brazil using gold as an alternative currency to the U.S. dollar. Why wouldn't you want to take a peek at owning a little gold for yourself? So do me a favor. Give them a call. 800-498-6450. Mention my name and ask for your free investment guide. You should at least educate yourself on gold. And once you educate yourself, you can learn more about diversifying or even beginning a portfolio plan. That's 800-498-6450 and mention my name, Adam Carolla. That's 800-498-6450. That's Lear Capital. Peter Antico is here. He's got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. The documentary is called The Paradigm of Money, and it's streaming now on redcorraluniverse.com. And we'll get into that. We'll get into this whole strike with SAG and AFTRA and the unions and the streamers. Good to see you, Peter.
How are you?
I'm well. So I no one has any clues to what's going on with this strike. You are running for Secretary Treasurer of SAG and AFTRA, so you might have some inside dope on this thing. But I've talked to some pretty major players in the space, and no one has an answer.
Well, it's interesting. So I served on the SAG-AFTRA boards for over 10 years. I'm the current technology chair at the Los Angeles SAG-AFTRA and the stunt safety chair at SAG-AFTRA. And, it's how we got here. First of all, our proposal that we're asking for, the proposal that's on the table, is the best I've ever seen in 20 years. So I support that. But you have to really go back into history and how we got here. We got here from voting up 4 failed contracts. In fact, since 2008, since before the merger, there's 2 factions in the union, one called Unite for Strength and one called Membership First. Unite for Strength's been the controlling party for 15 years. And in consortium, they've voted to give away massive amounts of the wealth that we previously negotiated, in the last 60 years.
When you say give it away to whom?
Well, the AMPTP, for example, in 2020...
Well, we don't know what the AMPTP
the producers. The AMPTP is the organization of producers that we're negotiating against in the bargaining table. Mm-hmm. They're the group of the consortium of producers that we negotiate our collective bargaining agreement with. They're on the other side of the table. So in 2020, our union gave up $170 million in syndicated residuals in exchange for a horrible streaming contract, which we're now renegotiating now at the present time. In 2017, we gave up a 60-year-old travel provision called portal to portal. What that meant was, for 60 years, the custom and practice was if you flew as an actor from Los Angeles to anywhere in the country on television, Your contract would start the day you jumped on the plane, and all of the money you earned from that contract would be contributed to your pension and health, which was great. So when they gave that up on television, now you fly and you basically work as a local. You don't get put on the clock. You get a stipend of $500 instead of being on a SAG weekly contract. And when you get there, you don't get paid any overtime from the time that the van picks you up and takes you to the set. And when you wrap at the end of the day, you get no more overtime when you're in the van and you drive you home. So it really acts like you're a local all over the country.
Right. So here's a question, because I was talking to somebody about this. Other unions, like NFL players and UAW auto workers and stuff like that, they don't have the kind of chasm between the guys who are making millions and millions and millions and people that are literally not working. Like, they're in a union and they're literally 96% of the union's not making any money. Like, that's, UAW doesn't work that way. NFL, everyone makes the cut. There's 2,500 players. Some are getting paid more than others, but everyone's got a good pension. And they're in the union, but it's because they're on a team. SAG is a bunch of actors who aren't on a team that are in the same union as Matt Damon and Tom Cruise. How's that ever going to work out?
Well, you mentioned the NFL. I think the floor for a salary for an NFL player is about $460,000 a year. I think that's quite a bit different than SAG-AFTRA.
Right.
And when you're dealing with scale players as opposed to players that are above the line, like Tom Cruise, there is certainly a wealth disparity from our members. Just to give you a little example, 86% of the entire membership of SAG-AFTRA don't qualify to earn $26,500, which would qualify them for health care. That's 86%.
Right.
And our national executive director earns $954,000 a year.
Right.
And there's about 124 of our staff members that make or earn in between $97,000 and $500,000 a year. And they get triple the pension payouts as the members. So here's the rub. It appears like since we've continually voted away the protections that we've had, for 60 years in our contracts since 2008, prevalently giving away residuals pre-1971, which affects seniors, giving away trailer residuals every time you had Mannix or any of those old Simon & Simons, all those shows. If you made the trailer and you're an actor and you made the little clip every week that they showed, you would also get residuals on that. They gave away first-class airfare. It goes on and on and on. Syndicated or streaming residuals that we tried to negotiate in 2008. Then they removed the president. His name was Alan Rosenberg then. So we've had people that are running our ship that really need to be changed because they're not financially responsible. And it's really a popularity contest to who gets elected. It's not about
How's Fran Drescher doing?
I think Fran Drescher came in not ever serving, not knowing anything about the history of our union, and was thrown into the mix because, again, the president is a popularity contest, not any of the activists that actually have served on the board who would be much better suited to be the president. So she's been a powerful voice in the room like Norma Ray. She's certainly not taken any bullshit from anybody, which I really appreciate. However, I think there's a different way. I think you have to study history to know how we got here. I mean, our national executive director has said in the press today that he's really admonishing the producers of the AMPTP for not giving us a fair contract. What he should do is admonish himself for settling for 4 failed contracts that he said nothing about. And here's the rub. In 2020, they came back to our members and said, we negotiated a record $54 million into your pension and health fund. I said, awesome, that's great. I've never seen that before. And then 2 weeks later, 8,200 seniors got thrown off their lifetime medical in the middle of the pandemic. But what our executives didn't say, and our party called Unite for Strength that owns the room. What I mean by owning the room, if your party has more votes, it's just like Congress. They can outvote you. Even if you're voting to protect the contracts, which we did. We voted against Unite for Strength's contracts for the last, since 2008, but we don't control the room.
What do you think the timeline and likely outcome is for the current strike?
I think understanding what I know about law, I think there's a good chance that maybe in October we could settle in October, because I believe they should bring mediators into the room and mediators that are negotiators that understand complex mathematical residual formulas. Because you can't go in there, underarmed. You must go in there with very wise people. I'm not talking about federal mediators that are just ordinary. You need mediators in specificity, which we have, which I know about. And there was a lawyer, a symposium or a panel put on by the secretary of the Beverly Hills Bar named Randy Banman. She put on a symposium or a panel with 7 elite negotiators that specifically deal in entertainment. So I recommended that they use some of these particular mediators because then they understand what our contracts are that they understand what our contracts are supposed to accomplish. And they do it in specificity, and they try to negotiate for what you want. And if the other side doesn't want to accept it, they don't have to. It's not binding. But a mediator, it's like 2 people are divorced, and they come in with so much emotion. You need a neutral party to come in and negotiate it so you could create a win-win situation. And that's what I believe needs to happen. 2 weeks ago, I wrote a letter to the membership, and I stated the way to deal with this is you have to understand that we now are negotiating against technocracies, vertical corporations. It's not like you're just negotiating against a studio. So we used to have rules called FinCEN, financial syndication rules. And in 1994, 1995, they rescinded it. You used to be able to separate the powers, like Stephen Bochco, who did LA Law, and Don Belisarius, who did Magnum PI. They were only allowed to produce. The networks were not allowed to produce shows. Once they became partners, once they removed those rules and networks were able to then produce shows, it took away the separation of powers. So if you're doing feature films and Viacom owns Paramount and they create it, they have distribution, and then they have Showtime, and then they have Paramount Television, Comedy Central, Documentary Channel. They can then take the content, they can sell it at a price that they fix. And how do you compete with that? Because they can sell it for much cheaper money, and then the writers get hosed on residuals, the actors get hosed on residuals, and this needs to get addressed, which is what I said in my letter. And then a week after I said it, the Writers Guild came out and stated that they want to break up the vertical corporations of Disney because they can't compete.
Are people like Disney or Netflix or Hulu or whatever, are they greedy? Are they unrealistic? Are they evil? Are they just doing business?
Well, I think throughout history, management has always tried to take advantage of workers.
Yeah.
And the only thing that has ever been victorious is dissent, is intelligent dissent. And I think that is happening now. But the bottom line is that you have to look at who your management team is, and the same negotiating team that has failed us almost 5 different times, or certainly the last 4 negotiations, they want the membership to give them their vote. They shouldn't. They should replace them.
What about AI? Everyone is always talking about AI and how it's going to impact this field.
Well, I would have to say, being a pragmatist, I would have to say the next 5 years, it's a good probability that maybe 30% of the workforce in the world will be replaced by artificial intelligence. In regards to your right to role, your right to likeness, any performer, like you do right now, you have a right to likeness. If they wanted to use you in any kind of an ad without your permission, you could litigate them. There's law that protects you. So it's very similar. Anybody that if they want to scan you or reproduce you, and it's close to what they're doing with CGI right now. They do video games. If they scan you and they want to use you for a particular show, they would have to pay you your rate. And if they use it again, they would have to pay the residuals that come along with that particular exhibition platform. So in order to do it, they'd have to certainly put that in play. And then for the writers, it's even more nefarious, because how much could you use if you researched 20 pages, and you used to have to go to the Encyclopedia Britannica, then the internet came, then you studied and you wanted to get a subject about the War of 1812, and you looked it up and you used that material to write. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to say there's 10 pages that I want to write? Write me 10 pages on the War of 1812 in this format, and Adam Sorkin's writing? Because you could say anything. You could program a chat GBT to do anything that you wish. So it's a little tricky there. The Directors Guild, when they negotiated, you can't use AI. Period. No AI can be used to direct films or television. And the only thing, the beef I have with the Directors Guild, respectfully, is that they're the smartest guys in the room. However, they've never, litigated or struck, but they set the bar really low because the cost of living increase they bargained was 5%, 4%, 3.5%. Well, they gave people on Social Security in 223 8.7%, and inflation. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You said 30% in the next 5 years of like the workforce of the United States, maybe the world, AI. People were talking about like self-driving semi-trucks 10 minutes ago, putting all the truckers out of work, but it doesn't seem like those are the people that are going to be out of work. It seems like the people who do the data entry and the lower level, like attorneys and just any editors and things like, AI is going to be going after the white collar world, it's not the self-driving trucks that we have to worry about, or Flippy, who's flipping the McDonald's burgers. Is that a correct statement?
Well, that's, I think there's so much data and not being able to predict the future, but from what I've seen, there's a lot of automation in robotics. I went to the CES show, I didn't make the last one, but the year before and the year before. The automation with robotics is incredible. What they're doing, what they're coming up with, and there's exhibition platforms, on fiber optics, on frequency. They also have. I also saw technology where you can put your hand on some diodes, and you would watch a screen where people were acting, and if they picked up a cup of coffee, your hand would get warm. It was somatic.
Wow.
And I said to SAG-AFTRA at the time, you need to pay attention, and you need to really jump in, because you really want to look at technology that hasn't been invented and hasn't put it out. You really have to front run the market. And I think the biggest mistake they made was like in 2012, when you had Netflix online and you had Amazon and you have Apple. What they have access is data. They have reams of data, and they have your iPhone. They know what you do, how you browse, what movies you like, when you watch them, what subjects you like. Studios don't have that. And they should have got involved in 2012. And I believe that was a big mistake that they made. So now they're behind the 8 ball. So at this point in time, I think the path forward is you really have to look for a lot of untapped revenue. Like one would be cable television, and the other is YouTube. YouTube had 1.7 billion views. And they take our actors' likenesses and our places, like old shows like Adam 12 or The West Wing, and they play them under the guise of fair use. And it's not fair use, because you can't play a 9-minute clip or an 8-minute clip of these shows. That's not fair use. You're basically using our actors' performances for free. And SAG-AFTRA needs to negotiate for that, because we're leaving massive amounts of money on the table. YouTube is basically the Napster of film and television. Mm-hmm. And that needs to be addressed.
The film that you made, and you've made films, and you were a stuntman for a while?
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about that, quick. Any good, any good stunts? Set yourself on fire, roll a cop car?
I've been set on fire. I've jumped off of 75-foot, heights into airbags, crashed motorcycles, crashed cars. I've done horse work. I started in 1979, and I trained with the original group of Stunts Unlimited boys, and they were the best in the world at the time. Mm-hmm. And I have Tourette syndrome. I've had it since I was 7, and sometimes I had these strange tics and movements. And for me, having Tourette's and being accepted by these group of athletes, because I was a pole vaulter in college and a baseball player in college, and went to California Lutheran University, and then I went to some screenwriting at UCLA, and I got to meet these group of athletes, and they accepted me. I was so kind, because my whole life it was like, yeah, you'll never amount to anything, and they didn't understand what I was doing. I got accused of being on cocaine when I first, from agents, and none of it was true, and it was just hard to navigate.
Was Hal Needham running Stunts Unlimited?
Yes. I met him at Tom the Man Huff's house in Saugus, California when I was a kid, and he had these big bell-bottom pants with big flames on them. It said Stunts Unlimited. He was like a legend. I saw films of him jumping out of a little Cessna onto a guy on horseback, and he's broken like more bones than any stunt person alive, but he put us on the map. Burt Reynolds also put us on the map by giving Hal an opportunity to direct, like Smokey and the Bandit and Hooper. So the man made 150 million on a film that was 7 million. That was the Smokey and film, and that gave like stunt people the first bit of credibility. Hal created respect in our business, and I think it needs to be returned, because stunt people in our contracts haven't gotten a gain in 15 years, but $200 in a flat television stunt coordinator contract. And we're working hard to get residuals for stunt coordinators on television, and I believe we should be able to achieve that. We have some good stunt people in the room negotiating that I approve of. I think that going forward, they should understand that our profession provides billions and billions of dollars at the box office with action films. We also should be recognized at the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences, which I am a member, because it's certainly an art and science. The things that we do now, that we create, we write, produce, and direct sequences in major blockbuster films at studios, and it's about time the Academy, humble themselves and say, hey, we should recognize our because we provide.
If they're going to have costume design and hair and makeup,
sure.
You see the latest Mission Impossible movie. Give out a couple awards to people that may die.
Shout out to Tom Cruise for standing up for stunt people.
Did he do that motorcycle stunt as we saw it?
Yes. I'm clapping for Tom Cruise. Balls and skill and training, and he stands up for stunt people. Steven Spielberg did, Martin Scorsese did. They all believe that stunt coordinators should be recognized on stage at the Academy Awards. And I think it'd be a much more exciting show, because imagine showing trailers and all of a sudden you got guys getting lit on fire, coming out and giving the envelope, or dropping down from the ceiling, or all the air rams, all the rigs that we do, and all the trailers they can promote, because people love action, and it really sells tickets. I challenge anyone to look at trailers of movies. Try looking at Fast and Furious and take the action out of the trailers.
No. We're just looking at it. So people need to see the movie Hooper, because it's great. It's like Bert and Jan Michael Vincent at his best. Speaking of Jan Michael Vincent, I watched one of his greatest offerings over the weekend.
The Mechanic?
Damnation Alley.
Damnation Alley. Yeah. And it was really one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, and I like bad movies. The special effects were bizarre and bad. Everything was bad about this movie, but came out a year before or at the same time as Star Wars, and Damnation Alley's budget was $8 million and Star Wars was $11 million, which is more, but not that much more, considering the special effects and what it did at the box office. Now, I will challenge anyone to watch Damnation Alley and see if they can figure out what the fuck was going on in that movie. But the Damnation Alley big truckster was always parked up on Cahuenga at Dean Jeffries' shop.
Dean Jeffries, a brilliant rigger. He rigged more roll cages in cars that protected stunt people.
Oh, really?
Dean Jeffries, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So Dean Jeffries, there was Barris, who did the Munsters Mobile, and George Barris, that did Batman and stuff like that. And then, Dean Jeffries was his competition, and he was just, as the crow flies, about 2 miles away, and he did, I don't know if he did the Monkees Mobile or the Beach Boys Mobile or something. He did something. He did those things too, and the Damnation Alley super rig was parked in front of his car. My entire childhood, the most exciting thing I could do was drive over Cahuenga and look at the Damnation Alley mobile that was in front of Dean Jeffries' shop. So what did Dean do?
He did the Monkees Mobile.
Did the Monkey? Yeah, but he did 18
the Green
cars.
Hornet.
The Green Hornet.
He did Logan's Run, Get a Life.
Get a Life.
Yeah.
And he keeps stunt people safe.
He did?
Oh, yeah. He built more roll cages for cannons and turnovers. That's when you turn over a car or you have dynamite.
With the telephone pole?
Well, that's the old school.
Yeah.
When Hal Needham first tested that, and he didn't have enough dynamite in it, and he did it again. He did it again, and the car blew up and went 3 rotations in the air and came down.
Jesus Christ!
And this is early. This is early on. So these people were innovators, but you're putting yourself at risk in doing that. But Hal Needham, respectfully, was a legend, and I'm glad they gave him an honorary Academy Award.
They need that category.
Yeah.
In the Oscars for sure.
I'm saying
Especially
they've been campaigning for it for 30 years. What's the reason? Like, I mean,
they're snobs.
Is that it?
It's snobs.
It's not a drama.
Well, because they do like best hair and best costume and stuff, and you just see some Elizabethan outfit or something, and they hear a violin, and there's nothing going on. I do want to see Tom Cruise take that bike off the Grand Canyon. I do want to see all the great stunts. That would be the greatest montage ever.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd certainly get people to view it because the viewership, has gone down abhorrently because people don't want to see people preach to them, because a lot of them, they view Hollywood as elitist all the time. And the thing is, the rank and file, people like me that are just doing parts and action and coordinating films, we're the rank and file. They probably making between 30 and 150,000 a year, but most people don't. Probably 15% of the people out of 160,000 even earn a living. 15% of those. So, all you get is a picture of all these, major stars, and they think that's what Hollywood's about. But I'm calling on those major stars to start getting involved in our union to help us, because when Jimmy Cagney started, those group of actors really were proactive in the labor movement, and they really wanted to make sure that everyone had a fair shake. Because, if our contracts were better, and I wanted to point this out, in the financial crisis, we all got 3.5% of accrual rate for a pension. And what an accrual rate is the amount of money that the producers or AMPTP donate or contribute to our pension health. That means if it was 3.5%, it would be 3.5 cents for every dollar. So on 100,000, it's 3,500. In 2010, our national executive director took it away and lowered it to 2%, but he left the staffs at 3.5%. Which is, respectfully, my opinion, self-dealing. Then they merged the unions. When they merged the unions, they had to figure out where the money was going, because there was two separate contracts, AFTRA and SAG. And what they said to sell the merger was, if you merged, your pensions would be protected because all the money would be going into one place, which was a flat-out lie. Because when they merged, they still had the pensions are still, to this day, going into two different pots. So then they created a split in 2014. They gave 57% of the earnings to the SAG pension and health, and 43% to AFTRA. However, this was the rub. If you went back 15 years and throughout history, the last 15 years for sure, the rate of contribution in the SAG's plan was 97%. And the rate going into AFTRA's plan was 3%. So the split should have been 97% for SAG and 3% to AFTRA. It is the most egregious theft that has never been talked about. And it should be, because we basically bailed out AFTRA's plan, and they hijacked almost 80% for the 43% and the 15%, which you combine them together, it's close to 80%.
What do you think about the actors showing up and guys delivering pizza? Is it just sort of window dressing, or are they sincere and you appreciate it?
Look, I want those actors that are delivering pizzas. I want you to show up to the negotiating table, and I want them to come to the negotiating table. And I also want, Gavin Newsom to get involved, and I want Joe Biden to get involved, because they're talking about unionism. Here's what we have: we have the largest economy, California, with big tech and the film business, which gives us the most behemoth economy in the nation. If you're shutting us down and you're not even offering 8.7%, which the Bureau of Labor Statistics gave the seniors, you got to come in and say, sorry, this is the floor. You got to treat people honestly, because you have 6.5% of inflation, 21, 22, 7%, and you combine that you get 13.5. So SAG-AFTRA is correctly, has negotiated 11% in their interim agreement, but the directors only took, 5.4 and 3.5. That's really, bad economics. I don't know who their advisor was, Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, but that doesn't make a lot of sense, because if they had bargained just the floor of 8.7, it would have made it easier for the writers, because they have classically in the past done pattern bargaining. And then SAG-AFTRA would have been easy for us to negotiate. But we're standing strong, and I'm proud of our union's negotiators for that particular reason. But in year 2 and 3, they're only asking for 5. That, I believe, is a mistake, because you should still ask for the same amount, close to 10%. Because if you look at our economics, we have a $31 trillion deficit, and there'll be another $2 trillion added onto that deficit in the next 12 months. And then you have the debt to GDP in the United States is 126%. And then the global debt to GDP is 338%. So these numbers are unsustainable. You got to print money.
What about when Bidenomics kicks into overdrive?
I think they're fooling themselves. You got the BRICS nations meeting. I think today and for the next 3 days, talking about de-dollarization and using a new form of currency backed by some kind of precious metal, gold or silver. And these are companies that want to start doing business and trade without using the dollar. So there's a lot of things on the global stage, plus supply chain interruptions. Everybody sees in the world they're trying to deal with farms and stop meat production, food production. If that happens, we're going to get continued food spikes. And the last 2 years, food inflation was 64%. So if you think 8.7 does it, it really doesn't. So our negotiators and Mr. Newsom and Mr. Biden really should come in and give the people an opportunity to make a living so they can feed their families.
Those fucksticks aren't going to do anything.
Yeah.
They're just too fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Well, they don't care and they're dumb.
Yeah.
So it's a potent 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
I was watching your movie and it was interesting, the paradigm of money. And you were kind of going over all this COVID stuff, and we were touching on it earlier today, that all these big companies were allowed to exist and all the mas and the pas got driven out of business. And I never really wanted to be in this place in my life where I keep questioning the powers that be constantly, but what is going on? Like, is this nefarious? Is it stupidity? Like, what happened during COVID?
So let's just talk about some data. So they call something a vaccination by definition is supposed to stop somebody from being transmissible and keep being obviously contagious, so you don't get it and you can't give it to somebody else. But this was an experimental drug trial that comes with the laws of informed consent. So when you really looked at it from a macro picture, so you shut down all these small businesses, you're causing billions and billions of dollars in damage in the United States of America, and then you did that, but you allowed the big ticket items to stay open, Home Depot, and all of these Kmart, Walmart, all the big stores that people use, Costco. There's thousands of people in those, but it's too dangerous for you to come into a mom pop hardware store where there's maybe 100 people. That makes no sense. And then once you said liquor stores were they're necessary. I don't know how you could call a liquor store.
Right, churches weren't, but liquor stores were.
So they basically violated the Constitution. But the real rub is when they came out and said, and Pfizer said in the European Parliament that they never tested for transmissibility, but they said they did. That's a fraud, and that meant that do it for grandma. That whole line was false information. So that means the lockdowns were false information. So the amount of economic damage, because the whole film is basically about economics, just has nothing to do with the pandemic. But I studied a lot of the economic, detrimental effects. But when you're looking at an item that hasn't been studied, and especially not to the gold standard, because every drug we take is approved by the FDA has to have a double-blind placebo-tested pre-trial study. Every one we take, except for vaccinations. There is no vaccination that comes with that gold standard of a metric. So when you're pushing something out there without any long-term data, and then you're telling people that they can't work as a condition of employment, well, how is that? Because did any of those employers provide informed consent? And say, well, here's the adverse reactions. Pfizer never came out with their 1,291 pages of adverse reactions until, a year and a half. They had to get it subpoenaed, from a Freedom of Information Act.
So two things. One is when you return to SAG-AFTRA headquarters, could you tell all those pussies Adam Carolla said to kiss his fucking ball sack for being such fucking pussies and caving and just cowering under the bed and shouting at everyone who didn't want to get vaccinated or questioned some of these things? Just asked questions. Could tell your constituency they were the tip of the spear in the coward department. They could have done great things in terms of moving this thing in a different direction, and instead they just got online and shouted at anyone who disagreed with Pfizer.
Well,
fucking coward hypocrite pussies. Make sure and tell them that.
Fine. We brought in Peter McCullough. Peter McCullough consented to speak, and Duncan Crappy turned it down. Fran Drescher turned it down. She tried to say she was a champion, but I emailed her personally. She
Peter
turned it
McCullough,
down.
the guy's sort of an expert on this.
I think he's sort of a major expert
right,
on this.
but telling them shit they didn't want to hear, like you're allowed to get out from under the bed, or maybe the lockdowns don't work, or maybe the vax isn't safe, or maybe ivermectin is effective. All the stuff those retarded actors never stop vomiting out of their face. They didn't want to hear any real, and then accused everyone else of being anti-science.
But here's the rub: when they were wrong, when the CDC even came out and said they were wrong, and the whole do it for grandma and Pfizer said they never tested for transmissibility, so the whole return to work agreement, Zone A, where it said you had to be experimentally drugged or experimentally vaccinated, was false. Didn't matter anymore because that was false information. But they didn't change the right to return to work agreements when public policy changed. In that return to work agreement, it says specifically we honor public policy. So the minute they came out 7 or 8 months ago and said there was no difference between people who took the jab and didn't take the jab, they didn't change it, and they didn't allow people to work. So they discriminated against thousands of our members that didn't get to work. And we had to listen to a narrative that was voted up by a board, a safety board that doesn't have one doctor on it. It was basically a kangaroo court that had no authority to vote over another's body sovereignty. And so there's a lot of people that were against this, but they wouldn't present the evidence. They wouldn't allow a debate to happen. And Fran Dresser is equally as guilty. For as much as she says that she supports this, we gave her emails. She talked to Peter McCullough and they talked to Duncan Crabtree. They just turned it down because I don't know. I personally think they should be investigated because I don't know if they were paid money like comedians were and other people.
Well, that's the bigger question. Like, how much of this was just a huge scam run on everybody by Big Pharma?
I think they've paid over $70 billion in criminal prosecution fines over the last 30 years. So if you wanted to go back in history, it's in my film. But obviously, when they testified in front of Congress about smoking, about nicotine, all the heads of the tobacco companies came on and said that nicotine wasn't harmful or negligent, to your health. Addictive. Sorry, not addictive or harmful to your health. All of them testified, and that was false information. All the journals, the Lancet, the peer-reviewed journals, they agreed with them. So if you're looking at a history where that's modeled, and then you look at the history of like the Tuskegee experiments, what the CDC did, and then you listen and you look at the data of the swine flu hoax of like 76, 77, where they vaccinated 43 million people without one confirmed case. When you look at this kind of thing, you have to question everything. And to be vilified for not questioning things, that's inappropriate.
No, you're being vilified for questioning
correct.
things. Right.
Correct. You shouldn't be vilified for questioning. Civil debate.
Yes, tell everyone at SAG and AFTRA, nice job for vilifying everybody who was asking questions.
I have told them that the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, is the cornerstone of the Constitution and democracy.
Oh, you're out. You're never going to get voted for anything. You're never going to do anything over there.
Without the First Amendment in play, all the other amendments do not work properly. They don't work. Everything depends on freedom of speech.
Can you figure this out? Back in the day, actors were like John Wayne and James Garner and Robert Mitchum. They were big dudes who drank and wore boots. And
they're a type, yeah.
When did actors turn into just these fey pussies? Coward pussies. Like, when did it take this turn? Because it was a lot of Macho Man stuff back in the day, and then all of a sudden you have these people burning Fauci candles in the background and screaming at anyone who doesn't want experimental vaccination.
The thing I think is, I think there was a lot of fear porn put out, and I'll have to say, just as someone who just studies data, if someone put on the news every 5 minutes, tuberculosis, there's a tuberculosis outbreak, you got to be careful, tuberculosis, and they did that every 5 minutes, people would start going to their doctor and checking that.
Yes.
If something was happening and you didn't know about it, wouldn't be in your consciousness. So you wouldn't have the fear about it, because you can never make a decision based in fear. You only can make a decision based in peace and, kindness, kindness. Because I have compassion for a lot of people. I think a lot of people got bamboozled. A lot of people got really cajoled without looking at science,
No, they got fooled. They got bamboozled and then attacked everyone who wasn't fooled. Yeah. That's my argument. Yeah. I don't care if you guys have a 10-cent head and you're pussies. Fine. Go get bamboozled all the time about everything, but shut your fucking mouth.
The thing is that I always used to say that if we have a disagreement of any kind of subject, we could speak civilly on it. However, when they shut you off and shut your mic off and say, no, it's the only way. Since when does Apple Computer get to run roughshod over Dell? Dell has some bells and whistles, Apple does it. But if they shut off all Dell's points of view, that wouldn't be fair, because I, as a person, as an intelligent person, want to see the bells and whistles that I could make up my own mind. They didn't allow 2 points of view. They shut it down. And I've never seen that before.
But how much of it was useful idiots and how much of it was a sort of nefarious money grab?
Yeah, if I was in the oligarchical system, I could probably answer that question. But it appears there is a lot of things that are going on, in this world that are an attack, like Robert Kennedy says, who's a big Democrat, and he's basically saying what we have experienced. There's been an attack on our civil liberties and our human rights. Ron Paul, who ran for president, he was a Republican libertarian, has been saying this for years. But everybody could see, if you want to go on a plane and say, I need to take a shot or have a pass to do anything. And it's like the Screen Actors Guild after practice segregation. In Atlanta, they were trying to put yellow bands on people to say who took the jab and who didn't take the jab. And certainly no one should ever stand for that kind of information. And the fact that our board allowed this to happen, they allowed our members to be discriminated against, and they're calling it a producer privilege. Well, I'd like to know if anybody on the producing side, if any of them provided informed consent to anybody they said they had to take this experimental drug as a condition of employment, because that's the law. It's in Article 11 in the Nuremberg Codes.
Yeah. Also, people never stopped complaining about McCarthyism. Tried to roll it out. Huge. Way more than what McCarthyism was originally. They wanted everybody who disagreed with them canceled and fired.
I wanted to say something important, though. The response was pretty, now that we're in hindsight, was pretty poor, because people died of this horrible virus, and people died from this experimental drug that they were giving me. That's a fact that has certainly come out. But the fact that they let people die alone in hospital rooms without refusing to give them ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and these particular repurposed drugs that had 60 years or more of efficacy, one winning a Nobel Prize, to do that, to deny it and saying, how does that hurt? And for them to come out with that needs to be looked at. And the Congress of the United States of America really need to take a look at that, because if those repurposed drugs were given, according to Dr. Pierre Corey and the data that I've seen, you could have eliminated up to 70% of death in hospitals by using that drug in early treatment.
Right.
And this is...
But Rolling Stone said it was horse paste, so we need to listen to those fucktards. I'm just kidding. Is Rolling Stone in with Pfizer, or are they just useful idiots? Like, that's the question. What are they doing? When Rolling Stone is showing us a picture of a bunch of people wearing parkas and hoodies and ski beanies in the month of July or August, saying this is a line of people out front of an emergency clinic, they're turning away gunshot victims because people took ivermectin. They're showing a stock footage line from clearly in the winter. This isn't what's going on at this particular time because it's 104 degrees outside. What the fuck is Rolling Stones doing beside being wrong? Are they getting paid by Pfizer? Like, how is this working? What's in it for them to be wrong about everything and cook pictures and documents? And, like, first off, no emergency room is turning away gunshot victims because somebody took ivermectin.
That's ridiculous.
So what's Rolling Stone doing?
I think Rolling Stone has lost its way. Many publications have lost its way.
But why? What's in it for them to be wrong?
I think this.
Are they getting paid, or are they just like being wrong now?
Well, you can see. I think there's so much press that of how many shows and news programs that Pfizer sponsors and big pharma sponsors. So if you have a sponsorship and then you're speaking out against something that's not efficacious, I mean, look at Vioxx, for Christ's sakes. They knew it was doing damage. They had it in the pre-trials, and they did it anyway because they figured the amount of destruction that it caused to human beings, they had the money to pay those people off, and they figured the profit margins were too large, which is unethical.
Well, the point is everything is now open to question because of how you reacted, how everyone reacted during this pandemic. All right, we need to take a quick break. Peter's going to hang out. We'll come back and do some news right after this. Let me tell you about Angie Homeowners. It's a lot of work to own a home. Whether it's everyday maintenance, repairs, or dream projects, it can be hard to even know where to start. All you need is Angie, your home for everything home. Find a skilled local pro who will deliver quality and experience. Over 20 years of home service experience. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie handles the rest. Look, you're busy. You don't have time to do all this stuff. Let Angie handle it. Take care of just about any home project in just a few taps. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit online. Visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com. ANGI.com. That's Angie. Let them do all the heavy lifting. Let me tell you about O'Reilly Auto Parts. Well, you want to save some money? You want to save some gas? Here's a few things you can do to improve your fuel mileage. Check your tire pressure, people. If the tire pressure is low in one or more tires, you're going to use a lot more gas. Check out your owner's manual or inspect the tire yourself to find the recommended pressure. O'Reilly Auto Parts carries a wide range of tire gauges to make it easy to check your tires on a regular basis. It's also a lot safer when they're properly inflated. Always keep your fuel system clean. A fuel injector or carburetor cleaner is a simple, affordable way to remove carbon deposits and moisture from the fuel system and can improve the performance and efficiency of your engine. How about changing a clogged air filter? As an air filter clogs with dirt and debris, airflow becomes restricted and cause your vehicle's fuel management system to use more gas. Changing clogged filters increases the amount of air available to your engine, which boosts your fuel economy. For all the money-saving gas tips you need this summer, ask the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts or go to O'ReillyAuto.com. Peter Antico is in studio. He wanted to do 2 minutes on SAG corruption, and then we'll hit the news.
First of all, I'm running for president with me is Maya Gilbert Dunbar. She's brilliant. I want everybody to go to unionmembernews.com.
There's a woman named Gilbert?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Maya Gilbert Dunbar. She's married to Rockman Dunbar.
Oh, Maya
Gilbert Dunbar.
Okay,
She's married to Rockman Dunbar. But she's quite brilliant if you go to unionmembernews.com. But look at the videos. We really lay out the case. And I really wanted to state that Maya and I were at the forefront, and Disney, the Writers Guild is actually following what we said. So we really would appreciate the opportunity to make a difference. But we also want the members to know that everything has to be run by data. This isn't a sorority. It's a business. It should be run like a business. So all of the actors that are involved, these big names that are giving pizza, come into the negotiating room. Show your power, because these people are producers as well as actors. So people are questioning where their loyalty lies. If Tom Hanks ever knew that our pension was really being hijacked, he would never backed that Unite for Strength party. He was the nicest person I've ever met. I did a film with him called The Money Pit when I started. I've never seen such a kind human being. And if he knew that our pension was really hijacked, that our staff gets almost 3 times the amount of a payout, which is $265,000 a year, and they can retire after only 20 years service, and the members like Tom Cruise, who is awesome, he can retire at age 65 with $96,000 a year. That's the cap. And if he retired early at 55, he would only get 70% of that, because you get docked 3% a year for that. So there's no parity, and it's not fair. We need our accrual rates back. And the reason I'm running for Secretary of Treasury, is because I want to remove the trustees who cost us these problems, because I initiated a lawsuit against our health plan for breach of fiduciary duty, and our national executive director, Duncan Crabtree Ireland, was one of the main defendants in that legal action, because he never informed our negotiating committees in 2020 that our health plan had major financial problems. We had a commercial contract, TV theatrical, and a Netflix contract. Had he allowed them, given that information, then they would have had the knowledge to go in and negotiate more money, so our seniors wouldn't have got kicked off. So we sued them, and we won a $20.6 million settlement. And this is the same person that his contract got voted up. So I think the leadership now needs an ethical cleanse. That's why we're running to bring economic and
all right, we've exceeded our 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, news.
All right, so Dick's Sporting Goods
Thank you.
announced that retail theft is damaging its business and is going to lead to lower annual profits. It's really making a big dent now. The company blames shrink, the industry term for theft and damaged inventory, for its surprisingly poor earnings. And although other national retailers have also warned investors about growing theft, Dick's is among the first to blame its lackluster quarterly financial report primarily on theft. Yeah, so, and of course, this brings up the subject of the new organized retail crime.
Well, so years ago in Los Angeles, as I said, out front of the Staples Center after watching a Lakers game and seeing all the illegals selling all the ghetto dogs on the steps and on the property, and I said to the guy who ran the place, I was like, what is going on here? Who are all these people? What's going on? He's like, oh, these aren't like independent poor women. This is a organized system. They get in a van. They load up in Chatsworth. They're driven out. They're women, and they bring their kids with them so they don't get hassled, by the man. Because you tend to leave the women alone. It's a more sympathetic sort of tableau. But they're working. And when you hear, as we aforementioned, about the vans and the RVs, those aren't people that park their own RVs over there. This is crime. This is organized crime. And now you get to all this mass theft stuff. These aren't random individuals that are all decided. They're working for like cartels and stuff. When can we get involved? Like as a city, when are we going to say we are just giving shitloads of money to the worst people on the planet, and then we get back to the Rolling Stone magazine and Pfizer? Like, is there something in it for the city council? Are they profiting from it in some way? Like, who are they worried about upsetting? When I said to the guy who ran Staples, what are all these people doing on your property? You have retail here. People are paying a ton per square foot, selling food across the street, but everyone's selling these ghetto dogs and stuff. Go down and tell the city council. He goes, I don't want to get into trouble. He don't want to get yelled at by the city council.
They defunded the Los Angeles Police Department $160 million. They're causing this problem, and that's a huge mistake because we need law and order. And by doing this, you're opening up a door for crime to run rampant. That's why you have a lot of people exiting the cities. So I think that needs to be addressed, and people welcome a strong police presence to keep this order. And if that continues to happen, the degradation of society will happen until order returns. So we need ethical people that actually speak the truth, that actually have integrity to bring this back. And we need to vote people in who stand for ethics, principles, morals, and values, instead of saying anything and doing anything just to get elected. And that's what we have. We have a culture of self-serving people instead of people that are actually serving the good of God. We're ruled by a universe run by a divine creator, and we're desecrating its lands, its valleys, its rivers, its oceans with impunity.
Well, I also think when it comes to the LA City Council, most of the yentas are fucking dingbats. I mean, these are 10-cent heads. They really can't think their way out of a problem. I mean, if you really break down that whatever woman from whatever district she was blaming Toyota for people stealing catalytic converters because Toyota made it too easy. She's a retarded dingbat who should be just cast aside. You could not ask her about any subject and expect a decent, coherent answer. How long before we have these people and we hit a saturation point with these fucking dingbats that the whole city's not going to just break off and fall into the fucking ocean? I mean, how could you have people setting policy who think that way? I've been screaming this for a million years, and their whole thing is like, oh, yeah, LA City Councilman Nithya Raman. And then what we do is we go, oh, she's a woman, she's Hispanic. Isn't that so progressive? That's great, except for she's in charge of policy, and she's a fucking retarded person. So we're going to have to get some people in there who can actually think.
Well, there's no accountability. Everyone wants to blame. When you blame, you put yourself in a victim's category. When you're accountable for your actions and your reactions, because people want to say you pissed me off or you did this, that's why I acted that way. So you're basically admitting you're a puppet and you have no control of your own spirituality and your own actions based upon what someone else does. In order to take your own spiritual power back, you have to say, I am accountable for what I do, what I say, for my actions and my reactions. And those politicians you talk about are not accountable.
No, but LA is so goddamn stupid or sort of obedient. I don't know what it is, that they just vote for dumb cows over and over and over again. I mean, I was talking, what's that click sound I keep hearing? Is it coming from you? Where's that coming from?
I don't know.
I've been trying to figure that out this whole time. It's driving me crazy.
Are you tapping your foot or something? I don't know. This is like a click sound. All right, anyway. See if we hear it again. I was talking to a friend of mine who said he just went down to the Grove, and he said that place is locked down. Security, safe. You take your family there, feel completely safe. They're not going to let any, hooligans run around that place and rip off these stores, because the guy who created the Grove also would have liked to run Los Angeles. But in our infinite wisdom, we went, no, let's have the career politician who doesn't know anything and have her run the county and Los Angeles. And now here we are. But it's our fault. It's our fault. There are competent people who raise their hand and go, I can help out. I mean, Dr. Drew tried to raise his hand and get on the homeless council because they didn't have any physicians on there, and certainly none that specialize in addiction medicine, and they booted him off the council. They never let him on. There are competent people who could actually do something, but you idiots vote for these people over and over again.
It has been said that the consciousness of the people directly reflect the consciousness of the leadership that they put in power. So we need to raise up, and people, there's got to be a lot more transparency, because there isn't.
Yes.
We're not told the truth. In the whole pandemic, there was no truth. Everything kept changing. And who's accountable? No accountable anywhere. Nobody's accountable.
No. Well, because most of the people went along with it and they're ashamed, and they should be, but they don't want to say they were wrong. All right, what's next?
Jennifer Aniston did a big expose on Wall Street Journal. They had a nice big interview there, and here's some takeaways from it.
I find us needlessly interested in Jennifer Aniston.
She's an icon.
I know her a little bit. She's a sweetheart of a person. I've run into her a few times. Her brand is nice. She's a competent actress. Friends was fine. She's cute, not really hot, not Sofia Vergara hot, but good looking.
Yeah.
We were endlessly fascinated on the inner workings of Jennifer Aniston. What she got to say about this and what she's thinking about that. She strikes me as a very nice person who's a very competent actress, who's a little, and also, trying to be diplomatic about things in this town when they can cancel anybody.
Right. I think she just wanted.
But I never sit around and think to myself, what is Jennifer Aniston thinking? Or something happened. Oh man, you just hear about something. There's some
What's Jennifer thinking?
Hot subject. Yeah, like that woman went online and she had 9 months to live and she wanted to have sex with her old boyfriend. I never go, what's Jennifer thinking? I want to get her take on it. I don't know why we want her take on everything.
So I'm about to give you her takes here.
Give me a take.
So first off, she said she was talking about her relationship. She's very candid about that. She says that there's still a challenge because of her parents' divorce. Yeah, so she says, quote, watching my family's relationship didn't make me kind of go, oh, I can't wait to do that. So she thinks she prefers to just sleep with her dog. That's who she's sleeping with now. She likes being alone. She's talking about her parents' divorce as the reason. So remember, she was married to Brad Pitt and Justin Theroux. She already married Brad Pitt. I mean, that's like you've climbed Everest.
Climbed the mountain.
You're good. Mm-hmm. And then she also said that she'll try almost anything once to look young. So she's, she still looks very good. But she said that one of the things she tried was using a salmon sperm for a facial. I guess that's something they do in Korea.
How they train that salmon?
I don't know, but
Whoa.
you gotta find the salmon.
You gotta find that fish wrangler.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't think I can get a salmon to do anything. But to beat off on Jennifer Aniston's face? That's crazy.
I know.
The guy
It's quite
trained
a
that
procedure.
salmon, that's the guy we need to talk to.
Yeah, let's get him in here. So she doesn't know if it worked or not, but she admitted to trying a salmon sperm facial. And then also this is the big quote that everyone's talking about. Quote, "I'm so over cancel culture. I probably just got canceled by saying that. I just don't understand what it means. Is there no redemption? I don't know. I don't put everybody in the Harvey Weinstein basket."
Oh, well, Matt Damon said that a few years ago.
That was a few years ago.
Problematic.
Yeah.
To suggest that there's a difference between Al Franken and Harvey Weinstein.
Right.
Wow, that man needs to be taken out to the woodshed.
So she said that, yeah, very Matt Damon-y of her to say, but people are criticizing her because they're like, didn't just last week you were involved in cancel culture with Jamie Foxx with that, that Instagram post that she liked or didn't supposedly liked? I don't know, but
She has to get a computer forensic scientist to figure out that post because she said she didn't do it.
Yeah.
Or she liked it, but she didn't like
probably
it.
the same person who tweeted for Joy Reid back in the day.
Yes, Joy
Yeah.
Reid with
Yeah.
all the jokes about the gay community.
Wasn't her.
Wasn't her.
She
she looked into it personally, and it wasn't her. Wasn't
Yeah.
Joy Reid.
Yeah. So anyway,
the forensic team thought it was her, but she knows. Well, in her heart, she knows what kind of person she is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. So we can't judge her because she knows who she is.
Yeah. And that's what we base fact off of now. So anyway, big old article on Jennifer Aniston, some key takeaways.
Unnecessary.
Oh.
Well, look, you watch Friends.
Still huge. Still a huge
Still
show.
huge. And you can watch Friends, and I do watch Friends. I never pick out one of them and go, I really need to hear what that one has to say, and the rest can go fuck themselves. I'm like, they're all equally strong. Like, everyone is good in their role.
Right.
And I get the part where she's an actress and she's attractive and she's so on and so forth. I just don't she's not, Walt Whitman or, I'm trying to think Roy Rogers or something.
Right.
Or somebody, wait a minute. Is it Roy Rogers? Shit, who am I trying to think of? Will Rogers. Will Rogers. She's not Will, her takes aren't, you don't go, whoa, mind blown. You know what I mean? We're a horrible society because
we're so focused on her. Still,
we're so focused on what Jennifer Aniston has to say. Yeah, not interesting.
Yeah. Peter, when were you in the Groundlings?
Oh man, when I first started, my teacher was Mindy Sterling.
Oh, I had her,
and wow, and she was cool. I had the most fun I ever had in my life was studying at the Groundlings. Though it was so much fun, and who
else did you have?
Ooh, a guy named Steve Hibbert.
Steve Hibbert.
And the Mindy Sterling. Those were the
see
two
Cynthia
people.
Seghetti around there?
Cynthia was there as well.
Couldn't miss her.
Yeah, man. Cynthia was there as well. They were the best. I mean, you go to the Friday night show, I'd be like mesmerized. They were so really, really well trained. But as an actor, as a performer, it taught you how to listen. When you go to the Groundlings, you learn how to listen. I said, wow, this is the best freaking acting class I've ever had. Shut the fuck up and listen, and whatever someone says, build on it. You never say no, you just build on it. And
I just said this to Orny Adams the other day. I was like, most people are not good listeners, and the Groundlings teaches you how to listen because the Groundlings will yell at you and tell you to stop the scene and to leave and to come back if you try to power past something that somebody said. And it's training that most stand-up comedians do not have at all, and then most even actors don't have it. But it's the listening part that nobody really understands because it's not sexy and it's invisible. But they teach you how to listen and the yes and stuff as well, and the no denial stuff.
Because if you're listening powerfully, and you're automatically you're reacting, your human organism, it just takes place. Naturally, you get your human condition comes in, and what you feel is what you feel. But if you're paying attention and you're just listening and responding, you're just recreating. You're constantly creating as opposed to mimicking. Like a lot of performance, somebody will wait till someone spits out their line, and as soon as it comes in, they spit out their line. when you listen, then all the organics happen. And even if you don't say the correct thing and you know the story, you're just telling the story. You're listening and responding. That's what the Groundlings teaches you. And I think everybody should sign up. It's such a phenomenal way to train and way to study. And all I do is I applaud them. Since the Szigeti, may you rest in peace. What a kind, beautiful soul.
She's kind of bitchy.
Yeah, but still, but taught me.
She loved me.
She taught me very well. She was a hard ass, but I learned really well.
She was like, picture Roseanne at her most Roseanniest, in the 1991, just yelling from the bleachers. And now Adam's going, he thinks he's, oh boy, here comes. She would just be yelling, and she was a big woman with frizzy hair, and she'd just be screaming at everybody from the dark bleachers you were on stage all the time. Yeah. But she liked me, but that's why she rode me hard and spent a lot of time yelling at me. And then, later on when I became successful, I could tell she was kind of proud. She's going, Adam's he was my best student, now look at him. He's on basic cable, So I always kind of kept in touch with her, and I always thought she was fun.
Yeah, no.
And she acted you'd see her on sitcoms, and
she's worked with a lot of people.
See her Seinfeld or something. I mean, you'd see her on these shows pop up all the time.
She trained Conan and I think Lisa Kudrow too.
Yeah. Oh, really? That's Lisa was there when I was there.
I mean, it's a good place to stretch
out. No one
out.
cares what she has to say.
Hey, you can do anything that I used to do. What I want to say to you today is my son, Michael, if a bolt of lightning should strike him dead, I'm going to blame some of the people in this room today.
Did Cynthia Szigeti yell at you or throw a shoe at you?
She threw a shoe at me. So do Marlon Brando with a spam commercial. So she just have you mix up and do anything you want to do.
It's like MMA.
Yeah.
Just a mixed martial arts. It's a whole mix. You'll learn everything. Good to have on the street. Yeah. All right. Should we bring it home?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. You can go to adamcarolla.com. I'll be in Appleton, Wisconsin, the Skyline Comedy Club coming up this Friday and Saturday. Peter Antico, very interesting, subversive doc. The Paradigm of Money, redcoraluniverse.com is where you can go for that. Kim Congdon, well, you can find her doing shows all over the place at Kim, CONGDON.com. Until next time, it's Adam for Peter and Kim and Chris saying mahalo.